Well, hello there, my friends. Welcome back to the show. It is Friday. For those of you who are live, it's Friday. The Rewatch crew, I don't care when it is, I'm glad you're here. On this channel, we like to cut through the fluff and sensationalism of true crime. We do a reasonably good job at it. That's always our goal. Tonight I'm not drinking water. I am drinking my beloved fully leaded Pepsi Cola because I have got a late coding night tonight for my day job. Yeah, that's right. Not only am I the reporter, I'm the guy who takes care of the websites too. So I have my Pepsi. This is like I'm a 25-year-old again. And I'm like less than a month away from having my 50th birthday, and I have my very favorite chips. Yes, you heard it here first. Ruffles, cheddar, and sour cream are my favorite chips. I'm going to be up into the wee hours, so I'm tanking up. That's what we do. That's what I do, and um, I don't bounce back from it like I did as a young man when I was working at like NEC and later it was called Fourth Revolution. It was just like a coding house. Yeah, I could stay up till 3, 4 in the morning, tanked up on Mountain Dew and pork rinds. Gross. I don't know why that I never ate pork rinds, but you know what I mean. I could just plow through the night and I would bounce back. Can't do that anymore because I am an older gentleman. Why am I still talking about this when we should be talking about who we're talking about in tonight's episode? We are talking about little baby Emmanuel Haro, who, oh my goodness, was 7 months old. He died sometime, police say, between August 5th and August 14th in the Eastern Empire area of Southern California. That is San Bernardino and Riverside counties on the east side of the Los Angeles basin. That is where they believe, well, that's where he lived, and he went missing. And his parents, Jake Haro and Rebecca Haro, were arrested for his murder, though they have not found, at least to my knowledge, little baby Emmanuel's body, his little 7-month-old teeny tiny body. Oh my goodness, this is breaking my heart just talking about already. Just talking about this already is just so sad, but it got me to thinking about the phenomenon of prosecuting a case where there is no body, prosecuting a murder case where you can't prove through direct evidence anyway, through forensic evidence, let's say, that there's been a murder. So I imagine that there will be a little bit of a tough time by prosecutors. Now, prosecutors have said, let me bring up the right video here. I prepared a couple clips, okay, from this press conference. When did this happen? This was back on like the 27th, something like that. I've taken umbrage at this press conference, though I've not taken any issue with the professionalism and their ability to investigate and prosecute. I think they're awesome. I just think that they don't like many of us who they call keyboard warriors. Um, and I've thought about it a little bit more. I can see why they've taken their position. But anyway, I've taken a couple of clips. I'm gonna have to stop this and restart it here, so you'll see a little black screen for a second. But um, just what is this? This is about a minute and a half long, where they're talking about their evidence. Let's just watch this real quick. Here we go.
Forensically, there are a number of things that we were able to prove up that we're not going to be able to share today exactly how we did that, but there is a tremendous amount of evidence that suggests that the initial story posed was not the correct story. So we're going to take every step to not only work with any suspect or witness involved in this, because at the end of the day, we have to bring a case to Mike and they have to charge it. And we have to make sure that every single thing, no matter what is told to us or what we discover in terms of evidence, is the right thing and that we followed up extensively.
We've got a lot of evidence. We're going to have to play that out in court. I can't lay it out here today. So I can't comment on the evidence in this case. But what I can tell you is that modern homicide investigations are very tech heavy. And we have two very modern, cutting edge sheriff's departments in Riverside County and in San Bernardino County. And so, yes, what you mentioned was the high tech crimes unit of the San Bernardino DA's office, their Bureau of Investigation. They assisted, and beyond that, I can't say what they found. That can't get into the evidence. But yeah, this case is going to be built on, like almost all homicide cases now, electronic, digital evidence. It all comes into play. Not at this time. No, we're not looking at anybody else. We believe that this is the filings in court that will be in this case. Now that could change if new evidence comes in.
Okay, so one of the things that he said also in Spanish, I remember, I didn't watch it today, but I remember when he was getting Spanish language questions, he was answering in Spanish. He was saying, we believe that the charges that we brought are appropriate given the evidence that we have. So these were just clips of them saying, hey, we have this evidence, we have forensic evidence. We can't tell you what the evidence is, but as you guys know, in the modern era, digital evidence is where we prosecute murder crimes. What they do not have, what they have not said there, is that they have a body, right? That has made me wonder, what is the likelihood of getting a conviction in a no body murder? And there are several no body murders that we know about, you and I know about, that are pretty darn famous. There are a couple that I'm going to bring up. First one is going to be an older one. I think this is back in, this is like 5 years ago, maybe more, 2017. I can't remember, but let me bring this up for you. This is out of, what is it? KOAA. And this is a video from quite a while ago, but here we go.
Nearly a year after police say she was killed by Patrick Frazee, and despite months of ongoing
Do you guys remember the Patrick Frazee case?
investigation, including a landfill search for her remains, police still haven't found Kelsey Barrett, an apparent disadvantage for prosecutors headed to trial.
The body is really the best piece of evidence in a murder case. When you have...
Okay, this guy, Tad, he's going to pronounce it here in a second. This guy, we're gonna look at pretty closely. Let me back it up.
Still haven't found Kelsey Barrett, an apparent disadvantage for prosecutors headed to trial.
The body is really the best piece of evidence in a murder case. When you have the body, you typically will know how a murder happened.
But statistics show it's not as much of a problem as you might think. The Bureau of Justice Statistics reports no body murders carry a conviction rate of 88% compared to just 70% for murders with the victim's body.
Isn't that interesting that we get convictions with a body at 70%, without a body at 88%? Hey, but as of back then, speaking of convictions, I should have brought it up. Give me a second. Let me bring up, I'm going to have to mute this, otherwise I will incept myself. Let's see. YouTube.com. There it is. Okay. We are going to, on Monday, I have a special guest coming. I hope you guys will join for this. Joel Waldman from Surviving the Survivor is going to join me for a special earlier edition. On Monday, we're going to meet at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as opposed to our normal time at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Because Joel and I basically have our live streams kind of overlap, right? So he's traveling back from Tallahassee right now. He was at the trial. He has covered this extensively. In fact, the Dan Markel murder is the reason that Joel and Carm kind of switched their channel into the true crime genre. So anyway, we're going to have Joel on Monday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay, I just wanted to give that plug while we're talking about that. Okay, and let's see. Which video was it? I can't remember. What are we at? No. This one. Okay. All right. So 70% with a body, 88% without a body. We'll pick it up from there.
Compared to just 70% for murders with the victim's body. Tad DeBias, a former federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C., now studies no-body murders. He says the stats are partially explained by the prosecutor's case selection.
When a no-body case goes to trial, a prosecutor is only going to take the strong cases to trial because there's such an obvious defense if you don't have the body.
Okay, now that is the key message that I wanted to share with you on this clip. I think there's a couple more bits that are important. The reason for that statistic is that prosecutors only take the best cases. So what does that tell us about this case? And the clips that we watched where they're talking about their evidence, what it tells me is that they believe they've got a good case here, right? Very good case here. All right, let's go back over here. Give it a play-a-roo. I have to back it up for the audio to work.
If you don't have the body.
Anticipating the defense questioning whether Barrett is actually dead, DeBias says prosecutors will then rely heavily on circumstantial evidence, like Crystal Kenny, Frazie's girlfriend, who detailed the crime, even specific spots where she says she left forensic evidence. The defense, though, is expected to attack her credibility. That's why cell phone data is key, as expert Mark Poff told us just days before Frazie's arrest.
Back in the 60s, fingerprints were huge in helping to solve a case. In the 80s and 90s, DNA. In the 21st century, cell phones and technology are the new DNA.
That evidence showed Barrett and Frazie's phones traveling together in the immediate days following the crime. Ultimately, it will be up to the jury to decide if that's enough to charge Frazie with murder beyond reasonable doubt.
Right.
Always watching out for you, Southern Colorado. Sam Kramer, News 5.
Thanks, Sam. That was a great report. Okay. Yeah, so I think it was overstating a little bit that cell phone data is the new DNA, but it definitely plays a huge role in solving crimes these days. Now, that guy, Ted DeBias, let's see. I didn't open it up. Give me a second. Tad DeBias. All right. Let's bring it up right here, okay? This is a document that I downloaded from Tad DeBias's website today. It's 156 pages and lists through September 2nd, 2024, out of all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. It lists all of the trials. In fact, one of them that he points out is the Traylor brothers. Let me find them real quick. Yeah. So Archibald and William Traylor from 1854 were convicted. Let's see. Look who their defense counsel was. Check that out. That's pretty cool. Anyway, he says as of September 2nd, 2024, that the conviction rate is about 87%, and conviction rate for all murder cases is around 70%, according to Bureau of Justice statistics. DP cases, what does he say? 91% of cases involve male defendants, with 58% being female. Oh, okay. Out of all those, approximately 33. Interesting. Well, anyway, 604 trials. That actually just seems like 2024 to me. Oh no, 604 no body trials. Okay, anyway. So Tad DeBias has been compiling this data since forever. Yeah, and I just found that interesting. Okay, now we're gonna go over to this video here. All right, you guys might recognize these folks. These guys, I follow them on Twitter. I like them. They're two lawyers. They make a big deal out of the fact that they're both Harvard law graduates, and they have a very popular TikTok channel. And I didn't even know until this very day they have a YouTube channel too. Not as popular as their TikTok channel, but it's pretty darn great. And they're gonna quote Mr. DeBias, and you guys are going to recognize the case that they're talking about. Here we go.
Can you be convicted of murder if no body is ever found? Is Taylor Swift right?
Enter Brian Walsh, who recently was charged with murdering his wife, Anna Walsh.
Anna hasn't been
Brian Walsh. Brian, this case is coming back to us, guys. All right, here we go. This video is from like 2 years ago.
seen since New Year's Day. Although she hasn't been found, prosecutors believe that she's dead.
And that Brian killed her.
Why? Well, police investigated his Google searches, which included these.
How long before a body starts to smell? How to stop a body from decomposing?
Okay, listen, I just have to pause here for a second, okay? Just a quick little pause-a-rooney. That accent just kills me. I'm sorry. How to stop a body from decomposing. How to bound a body. It kills me. But you know what? I digress. Here we go.
That she's dead.
And that Brian killed her.
Why? Well, police investigated his Google searches, which included these.
How long before a body starts to smell? How to stop a body from decomposing? How to embalm a body? 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. How long for someone to be missing to inherit? Can you throw away body part? How long does DNA last? Can identification be made on partial remains? Dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. How to clean blood from wooden floor. Luminol to detect blood. What happens when you put body parts in ammonia? Better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them. Hacksaw, best tool to dismember. Can you identify a body with broken teeth? What happens to hair on a dead body?
These are just a small portion. There are a ton.
Guys, I have to digress. I'm sorry. Like, okay, tangent for a second, okay? I have to tell a funny story. It's funny to me anyway, okay? We moved here to Western Pennsylvania 8 years ago. Both my wife and I are from Northern California. And the way that the church that we belong to is organized, it's done so geographically, and so we have like little parishes, and they're all put into like a diocese. We're not Catholic, but just so you understand the way it is. So our larger group of parishes, it encompasses a whole bunch of Western New York, Southwestern New York, around Lake Erie. Anyway, so they're friends of ours whose last name is Ognebenny. It must be an Italian last name, Ognebenny. Yeah, but they pronounce it Ognebenny, okay? So the first time that I met her, I said, what was your last name again? And she goes, Agnebenny. And I was like, Agnebenny? No. Agnebenny. And I went, Agnebenny? No, listen. Agnebenny. And I went, okay, so Ognebenny? And she's like, you got it. And then I was telling this story to her daughter, who was just amazing. And I was like telling the whole story about her mom doing this. And I was like, and when your mom's accent comes out, she goes, oh, my mom doesn't have an accent. It's awesome. Anyway, maybe I was told when I was in Great Britain that my American accent is the posh American accent, which I don't believe for a minute, but yeah, I don't know. Total tangent. Here we go.
Of these.
Anyway, returning to the initial question, can someone like Brian, for example, be convicted of murder without any evidence of a actual body?
Yes.
100%.
It's happened numerous times. And actually, some informal research suggests that 86% of murder cases where no
And this is from 2020, when, the last time that he had it all put together. And what is it? 538 trials, and there's been 604 since.
body is found end in a guilty verdict, which is relatively quite high.
And we have some ideas about why that conviction rate might be so high.
But more on that in a minute, because first we have to talk about all of the armchair lawyers who are probably out there clamoring that this just cannot be, that murder charges are impossible without a body. But that's just a popular misconception based on a faulty reading of this Latin phrase. Corpus delicti.
Corpus
Corpus
delicti.
delicti.
Delicatessen. Which translates to the body of the crime, and legally stands for the principle that a person can't be convicted of a crime without proof that a crime has been committed in the first place. Some people take this too literally to mean that you can't be convicted of murder without a body. They think, how can you convict someone of murder if we don't even know with 100% certainty that someone actually died in the first place?
Well, a lot of things happen in the criminal justice system without 100% certainty, because all you need is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. To secure a murder conviction without an actual body, a prosecutor needs to convince a jury, beyond a reasonable doubt, not only that the defendant committed a murder, but that a murder occurred in the first place.
This is an added step and can be more difficult, but it's certainly possible, especially in cases where there is a motive and overwhelming circumstantial evidence, like we see in this case of Brian Walsh.
Who, we must remind you, remains innocent until proven guilty, and all evidence
Of course,
discussed
blah, blah, blah.
heretofore is merely alleged by the prosecution and has not been rebutted by the defense. In addition to his highly incriminating and super disturbing Google searches, prosecutors tracked him through cell data and surveillance footage, dumping large bags in different dumpsters in different towns.
Quick reminder that virtually everything you ever do anywhere is traceable by the police.
Indeed.
Although a lot of the garbage was incinerated before it was actually found, some of it was found, and it included a hacksaw, hatchet, rags, gloves, a full-body Tyvek suit, which looks like this and is pretty much what the serial killers in all our bad dreams wear while dismembering bodies, as well as his wife's COVID vaccination card, her purse, and a necklace.
Bloodstains were also found inside the family home and inside the trunk of Brian's car, along with the bloody knife. And finally, the day after his wife was last seen, he spent $450 in cash buying towels and cleaning supplies at a Home Depot.
As for motive, the prosecution alleges that Brian and Anna were about to separate, and rather than divorce, Brian killed her.
Now, keep in mind, as robust as this evidence might seem, this is just the beginning, just the evidence the prosecution has decided to release so far.
Right.
The trial hasn't even started yet, and there's likely more evidence to come. The prosecution often saves some of the most damning evidence for the shock value during trial.
And this brings us back to the relatively high conviction rate for murder cases without a body. Actually, some informal research suggests that 86% of murder cases where no body is found end in a guilty verdict. This might be because when prosecutors don't have all of the evidence that a dead body can offer, they often will only bring the murder charge if there's enough other evidence that's very overwhelming.
So imagine you're on the jury in the case of Brian Walsh. Even if Anna's
Oh, I
never
wish I
found,
could.
consider all the evidence we've discussed so far.
Dispose
Of a dead body.
if you really need to.
Could that
If you
be enough
really
to
need
convince
to.
you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that she is dead and that he killed her?
Yes. Yes, it could. Yes, it could. Now, we're not talking about Brian Walsh. Perhaps we should be. But you know who we are talking about? We're talking about this little creature right here. And when I say creature, I mean like in terms of, look at that little creatura. He's the most amazing little thing. Like he is just the sweetest little boy. We're talking about him. Do prosecutors have enough to go after his figgity folks, his dad Jake Haro and his mom Rebecca Haro? I think they say yes, and we can go over to this report from KTLA, pushing the right buttons over here. This came out today. Baby Emmanuel murder case, prosecuting without a body and other legal questions answered. It is the case which gripped the nation, the disappearance and presumed murder of little 7-month-old baby Emmanuel Haro. His parents are accused of faking his kidnapping and face charges of murder, even though the child's remains have not yet been located. We spoke to KTLA legal analyst Allison Treasel, maybe, I don't know, to break down some of the biggest legal questions. Question number 1, how can prosecutors bring a murder case without a body? Treasel says prosecutors do not need a body to proceed with a murder case. Corpus delicti rule, the Latin phrase that means body of the crime. In modern practice, corpus delicti requires that the government have enough evidence showing that the essential parts of a crime occurred before they can even charge an individual. The corpus delicti rule just requires, what does it say? In modern practice, just requires that enough evidence is found, not that the body has to be found to charge someone with murder. Known cases where defendant was actually convicted of murder without a body being found include Charles Manson, Shorty Shea. Let's see, People v. Charles Manson involving Donald Shorty Shea. The case proves that evidence that one committed a murder is sufficient for conviction even without a dead body. Will any potential jailhouse conversations or interviews with Jake or Rebecca Haro be admissible? Remember, when asked about this, the DA was like, that is misinformation. See, what you just repeated just now is misinformation. In fact, when I reported that another reporter, Brian Enton, was saying that his source said, I was like, I don't know, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon there, but he had a source saying that they did do, what's that called? A Preston operation. I can't remember what the operation is, but they did the operation where a cop goes in as an inmate. Brian Enton stands by his reporting. The DA says, nay, that never happened. That's misinformation. Stop talking about that. Of course, he has incentive to not admit to doing anything like that in public. So just, I take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, going on back here. Treasel says, yes, these can be admissible. All calls made from a county jail facility are recorded and are often used if an incriminating statement is made by the defendant. In an exclusive jailhouse interview with the Southern California News Group, Jake insisted he has been completely cooperative in the search and that he would say, I love you, buddy, which is infuriating. Oh my goodness, to Emmanuel, if he could say something to him today. He completely denies the alleged abuse from Riverside County officials. He also says that he was forced into pleading guilty in his prior case because he could not afford trial. Bull crap. Give me a break. They're indigence laws for a reason. In fact, in Arizona v. v. Miranda, it made it very, very clear, right, that your rights are read to you. One of those rights is that if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Give me a break. Also with the Southern California News Group, Rebecca stated, I will not give up. I will not give up on my baby. I want to be out looking for my baby. Again, I smell bullcrap. Okay. Will prior case of abuse involving Jake Haro be admissible in court? Treasel says yes. In fact, they filed in the charging document that they would bring this up. Okay, so yes, Jake's prior case, for which he is still on probation, he's in jail, he's broken that probation, will be admissible in court. Although this may be classified as character evidence, which is generally inadmissible, it is also a prior conviction. It is not remote in time, and the conduct is similar to the conduct he is accused of in this matter. California Penal Code 404, prohibited uses. Prior cases are generally not admissible in court to prove the defendant's character or show that the character in the alleged crime aligns with past actions. The permitted uses include motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake, or lack of accident. Okay, will controversy over what many are criticizing in Jake Haro's lenient sentencing in prior abuse case be admissible in court? Treasel says no. Criticism over the prior sentence that Jake received is simply criticism. It is not admissible in court, as it is irrelevant to whether or not he committed the underlying offense, which really sucks, but she's right. In 2023, Jake pleaded guilty to one count of willful child neglect and was sentenced to 48 months of probation and 180 days of community service instead of prison time. He violated probation when he was caught with a firearm less than a year into probation. Riverside County DA Mike Hestron said that decision is absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time this crime happened, and if that judge had done his job, as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today. Of course, Hestron is a politician as well, and he wants to be voted into office, stay voted into office, but I don't know that that really matters to this. What he's saying is correct. Will any evidence of DA or DV, if there is any documented evidence, be admissible in court? Treasel says, we will have to see what information comes out because as of now, there's no information that there has been spousal A. Rebecca Haro had a noticeable black eye when she alerted the police that her child was kidnapped, so down the line she may claim that her husband physically assaulted her when she tried to intervene in the CA of little baby Emmanuel. The Riverside County DA says that this filing of charges reflects the belief that Emmanuel was a victim of severe CA and succumbed to those injuries. The evidence shows that baby Emmanuel endured, and this was in the DA's press conference, ongoing, we'll say, CA that ultimately took his life. Investigators believe Emmanuel could have died between August 5th and the 14th, the day he was reported missing. Let's pause here for a second. There are a couple of other good ones. Let's bring up little Emmanuel here and see what you guys are talking about in the Chatterooski, shall we? I'm going to scroll all the way to the tippity top. Sherry says, thanks for continuing the coverage. I am happy to do that. Robin, you know what? I knew you were going to say something, and I don't blame you for saying something. I will say that the color of my shirt and the color of that light, to my eye, is the exact same color. However, what you may not know about me is that I am severely colorblind. It's the reason that my heart was broken and my dreams were dashed. I wanted to be an Air Force pilot and an astronaut when I grew up, and in the 8th grade, I learned about that eye condition. I wouldn't call it like, I don't know, like a disability or anything, like who cares? But like my condition made it so that I couldn't do that. In fact, when I started flying as a private pilot learning to fly, I could only get a Class 3 medical, which means that I could never even be a commercial pilot. It was really sucky, but to my eyes, they look the same. To yours, I bet they are so off, it's not even funny. Susan, no one bounces back from like we did in our 20s. Yeah. Mooney says breakfast of champions right there. Oh, dude, the cheddar and sour cream Ruffles, guys. I am an addict. I am addicted. And I got to say, like an addict of hard drugs has certain behaviors that are associated with that addiction, like criminal behaviors. I have the same kind of behaviors, though not legal, not illegal. They're not criminal in nature. They're more kind of like sneaky in nature. Kind of sneak about those things. And who am I trying to kid? Kimberly knows. She knows all the time. Come on. That's funny. Okay, keep on going on down. Let's see. Susan says, I'm thinking of the Sante. I'm going to butcher that name, so I'm just going to skip it. Where she and her son were convicted. I don't think Irene Silverman was ever found. Yeah. Body voice. That's funny. Oh, a Maine accent. Oh my goodness. I'm a little snobby about accents. I have to tell you. Like when I go to England, for example, I have to bite my tongue when I don't hear the proper Queens, right? However, I saw a video by Michael Caine where he was talking about his pride in being Cockney and that an accent doesn't make his mother, like he would talk about his mother saying that she wishes she was a lady or something like that. He's like, you are a lady just because you don't speak like them. So I need to stop it with my snobbishness. I need to repent, see the light, and make the switch, as is said in one of my favorite Disney films. Got to do that. Jupiter is late but here. Glad you're here, Jupiter. Mooney says Jennifer Doulos was another nobody case, but her hubby took the easy way out. Left his girlfriend to stand trial. She was found guilty. Well, in this case, GF does mean girlfriend. Noise. GF. Parents, cough, cough. Yeah, I know. Just refresh. Let me, a couple more here real quick. My lion eyes. That's right. I got lying eyes. Robin says, my husband is also colorblind. Somehow he manages to dress himself. You guys seem to like the little family stories. Okay, I'm going to tell you a family story. So my grandfather, who actually, it's September 5th. My grandfather would be 102 years old today, were he alive. He passed away some time ago. But I mean, some time ago, meaning like 10 years ago. I can't believe I don't remember that date. But anyway, my grandfather was a veteran of World War II. And in the war, he served in Europe. In fact, both of my grandfathers, my grandpa and my dad's stepdad, my other grandpa, he served in the South Pacific. But Grandpa A, he was in Europe. And one of the reasons that he was put as a tank driver is he could kind of like detect camouflage better than everybody else because of his severe color deficiency. Anyway, my grandmother dressed him from the time they started dating, which was before the war, to through the time that they got married, which was after the war, raising their family. She dressed him the entire time, and she had this system at one point where she would sew in little labels, and they were like little animals. There's like a little tiger, there's a little dolphin, they're like little different things. And he knew that if he just like went to his shirt drawer and grabbed a shirt that was a tiger, that he could go to his pants in his closet and find a tiger, find some socks that were a tiger, and if you put them together, they looked good. That was the system that Grandma made for him. And he looked great. He looked great. I don't dress myself well at all. Kimberly takes care of me. Promise says, my dad was also wanted to be in the Air Force, but is colorblind. He did the next best thing he could think of and ended up working with astronauts and military and aerospace at Texas A&M. Well, good on your dad. My dad also worked in aerospace. I loved it when he would be like the Mr. Genius guy that would come to our elementary school to talk to us about space and rockets and stuff like that. I loved that. And that's probably one of the reasons why I loved aerospace so much, is that my dad was worked in aerospace, and on experimental stuff. It was mostly solid propellant rockets and boosters and stuff like that. So that included the space shuttle, that included ICBMs and stuff. Anyway, anything that was solid, so like cruise missiles. So ICBMs, not so much now that I say that. I think there are some solid ICBMs now. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so my room growing up, I just had posters of all the stuff. And I loved it. I ate it up. A Coffee Please is bringing us back. Good job, Coffee Please. Bringing us back. Says, thank you for covering the case. I live in Riverside, and this case makes me cry every time. It is terrible. Sadly, the local keyboard warriors have been reporting a lot of false details, and I'm sorry that happens. Jupiter says, I'm a sucker every fall for those little pumpkin roll-ups by Little Debbie. Those are pretty good. Though nothing beats chocolate, I'm gotta say. Cooler by the Lake, these cases involving children are so depressing. Do you think they are more prolific now than in the past? Well, I've been covering them a lot here. And if you were to talk to Autumn and Jamie, who have been here since almost the beginning, the beginning of the new version of my channel anyway, I always shied away from covering children because it just breaks my heart. But I think it's important that we cover them. So I changed my mind. Jamie and Autumn helped me change my mind on that. Maybe, I don't know if they're more prolific than in the past. I just, I have a buddy back in California who is a documentary filmmaker. I've told you about him before. His name's Kenny Ballantyne. Kenny made a documentary. I can't remember which one it was. Let me think about this. I can't remember which of his documentaries it was, but in his research, he and I were sharing an office space at the time, talked about how statistically we're safe. Children are way safer now than they've ever been. But it feels like they're not because of the nature of how we talk about them in the media and the new media, including myself. It does feel like it's a little like we're overwhelmed by these horrific cases, but in reality, children are safer now, statistically. And of course, what did Mark Twain say? There are 3 kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. Right? So, but statistically, we are safer now than we have ever been. I don't think they are more prolific. I just think that we are aware of them more. Adult garanimals, indeed. Ms. Courtney Reen says, check out the case that just happened in Louisville with the 5-year-old boy. They just got the father a couple hours ago. I will check that out. Thank you. In fact, I'll talk to Elizabeth about that. Jojo says, I think it has a lot to do with the 24-hour news cycle. We are a lot more aware of these cases now. Yeah. So back when I worked in high-end audio, I was helping to kind of, not establish, because it was already established, but kind of grow our audiophile society in Northern California. And the main audiophile society that we all looked up to was the Los Angeles Orange County Audiophile Society, started by Dave and Carol Clark and a couple of other people, but it was really blown up by Bob. I'm blanking on his name, but anyway, Bob, who I got to know pretty darn well, as the president of the Audiophile Society, just as like it was his hobby, just like the rest of us. And I talked to him one time, and I found out directly from him that when Ted Turner said he wanted to make a 24-hour news network that eventually turned into CNN, he talked to Bob. And Bob made it happen with Ted Turner's money, right? And so when he told me that, I was like, well, thanks a lot, man. We're doing much better, I think, with newspapers and 3 times a day kind of local news. But yeah, I think you're right. Okay, let me pause there on the commentary and let's finish up this document over here, shall we? Let's see. Is it possible that Rebecca Haro or Jake Haro levy accusations against the other to bolster their defense? It's definitely possible, she says, but they have both maintained their innocence for themselves and each other. Rebecca Haro says he's a good dad. He would never hurt a baby, referring to her husband, Jake. They are being held at different facilities. Jake Haro at the Smith Correctional Facility in Banning and Rebecca Haro at the Robert Presley Jail in Riverside. Both are being held in lieu of a $1 million bail. Is it possible that Rebecca or Jake could eventually be found guilty of filing a false report on the child kidnapping but still acquitted of a murder charge? Good question. And of course, the answer is yes, it is possible that they are found guilty of submitting a false police report and still be acquitted of the murder charge if there's not enough evidence. The prosecution needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they committed the alleged crimes, so it is entirely possible that the DA can do this for the false police report charge, but not meet this burden for the murder charge if there's not enough evidence to reach the beyond a reasonable doubt standard. Now, of course, we looked at the statistics, 88%. Is that what the one is now, or 87? What is it currently? 87%. So, I mean, it's not that steep of a hill to climb. And then the last question, is it possible that Rebecca Haro pursues a defense involving mental illness? Tresel, it is possible that either of the defendants can argue a defense around their state of mind at the time of the alleged crime. For the false report charge specifically, they could argue that Rebecca was medically insane when she reported being attacked outside of the Big Five and someone kidnapping Emmanuel when she was knocked to the floor. The couple also has a 2-year-old daughter, which could play a role in the defense. I suppose so. However, I think maybe testimony about her going to the Big Five prior and, like checking to make sure they didn't have cameras and stuff like that might be an indication that there's a consciousness of guilt. I mean, again, stupid people, man. There are people that are just dumb, and some of them are really smart, but dumb as rocks when it comes to this kind of stuff. Remember that part in the video? Was it this video? Let me push the right button. Give me a second. Yeah, it was this video.
Can you be convicted?
Where they're like, hey, quick reminder. Where was that? Was that about... Did I skip over it already? I did. Give me a second. Quick reminder that police can track everything that you do. Where was that? I'm totally missing it somewhere. Give me a second. There it is.
Is traceable by the police.
Although a lot of the garbage
Yeah.
dumpsters in different towns.
Quick reminder that virtually everything you ever do anywhere is traceable by the police.
Although a lot
We
of the
should all, everybody should just know that. Like, just don't be a criminal. Don't do horrible things. Just don't do those things. And you're in the clear. Okay, a couple more comments before we call it a night and I get to drinking my Pepsi, eating my chips, and coding. Where am I trying to go? I'm trying to go over here. Heather says, Gavin, in the past, certain stories were not in the news until it was sweeps weeks, when they showed horrible and more adult. They did the numbers on TV viewing then. Yeah, you're right. I'd forgotten about the sweeps weeks. It was like September when the new stuff was coming out. You're right. And Mooney says, yes, I got to remind you that on Monday, we're going to be doing our show a little bit earlier than normal. It's going to be at 5:30 instead of 7:30. And that is because Joel Waldman from Surviving the Survivor is going to join us to talk about the conviction of Donna Adelson, the next steps as far as sentencing, and what's going to happen next. Are we going after Wendy next? Are we going after Harvey next? What is going to be happening next? And Joel will have everything for us. So please be sure to tune in early on Monday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern instead of 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Ms. Courtney Reen, the cheerleader in Kentucky, is a horrible new strange case. Indeed. In fact, if you go over to Crime Cod, you will see that I think Jake wrote up. I wrote this one. That's funny. I write so many things that sometimes I forget, but and I saw a post from my friend Jen Coffendaffer that had pictures of her like in cheer uniform, or it was like stunt uniform, looking pregnant. Like everybody knew that she was pregnant. And that puts a wrinkle into this insane case. In fact, let me see if I can find that real quick. Let me go to X and let me look for Jen's post. Yeah, there she is. Where is that post? I wonder if she posted it on Facebook instead. I may have just skipped it. Give me a second. I'm not showing you because I'm not seeing it. Maybe it wasn't Jen who posted it. This is Lakin Snelling. Let me see if I can just find something real quick. Yeah, there we go. Like these are pictures of her that are surfacing that, I mean, she's pregnant. I mean, she's pregnant. And, yeah, so the details of this one are strange to say the very least. I mean, is this a case that you guys would like us to cover a little bit more? Is this one that we should dive into? Because it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And very, very sad. Very sad. Thanks for bringing that case up. Yeah, you went and checked out her Facebook. Yeah, I like that's something that I have not cyber stalked her. But I imagine that, I mean, is her Facebook page up? Yeah. I mean, she's made a lot of stuff private. She's made a lot private. But yeah, like a lovely girl. And I just feel like there's something wrong. Just something wrong mentally there. That's from 2023. Anyway, April 2024. Yeah. Most of the stuff, like all this latest stuff is not available right now. So yeah, I think maybe we will dig into that case a little bit. But for now, guys, it is time to call it a night. It's time to call it a Friday night. And I hope the rest of you are doing something way more enjoyable than what I am going to be doing. I mean, I got to get it done, right? So you got to get the nose to the grindstone. Hey, another couple things before we sign off, though. Remember, you can always find me on my website, gavinfish.com. Crime Cod is a great website. It's a true crime website that I've put together. We've got me and a couple other writers. Our editor-in-chief is Jake Charles. He's doing terrific stuff. So check out crimecod.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter down here. So there's a lot going, and I have been sending out a newsletter. If you guys aren't signed up for the newsletter, I want to make it a daily thing that's a valuable thing. For the last few days, I've been gearing up because in 10 short days, I'm going to be a part-time reporter and a more full-time YouTuber. So got to get those things going. Got the newsletter going. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. If you're not signed up, I invite you to do that. Also, while I got you here on Ye Ol' Firefox, don't forget we do hang out on the Fish Tank on Facebook that you're welcome to join. You're always welcome to join. And oh dang it, what was the thing that just flitted out of my mind? Give me a second. The newsletter, the Facebook. Yeah, I'm on X and everything like that, but there was something else that I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, so do you guys remember the game, the Great Baby Gavin Treasure Hunt of 2025? That has sadly come to an end. I hope that many people enjoyed that. It was good fun. I've got another idea for a game, but I don't want to overwhelm everybody. But let me know in the comments if you're up for another true crime game that's lighthearted, that's fun, because we do talk about these really, really sad cases like Emmanuel Haro. And I would really, I just like to be able to talk about or do things that are a little more bright, right? It's important that we talk about this. But if you guys are open for another game, it's going to require some coding, again, some setting up, but I'm willing to do it if you guys think it is a good idea. So put that in the comments, especially if you're in the rewatch crew. Definitely do that. That's something that I want to do. Maybe I'll wait till next year. I don't know. With that, guys, thank you so much for spending a little time for me on your Friday night or whenever you are watching this. Thank you very much. Don't forget, Monday, 5:30 instead of 7:30, Joel will be on. And until then, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.